days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was just a little nigga, I looked up to my bigger bro, begged if I could kick it. So when he went out with girls, I could go tagging along, nagging. If she had a sis, maybe could mac a baby hood rat. Y'all remember way back then?
What's up, Ross? It's your boy Young Beefs Comedy. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in to my documentary. Shout out to CY Entertainment. And I want to make one thing clear. Something that I'm a strong believer of is that behind every strong man is an even stronger woman, and it takes two to make a team, man. So let me introduce you guys to my better half, my fiance, Janette.
Hi everybody, I'm Janette, also known as his fiance, his manager, his appointment setter, his driver, his therapist, everything all in one. Again, I grew up here in LA on Mountain View. My grandma and grandpa lived in a house right here, and the side house, it's a half. My mom rented that from them. And this is where basically I grew up at. My grandparents had like 14 kids, so I had a lot of aunts, and they had kids that were the same age as me. And what happened is my aunts would go to work and my uncles would go to work, and my grandma would take care of all of us. So inside the house, my grandma took care of the babies that were up to 3-4 years old, and 5 to 10, we were outside in the front. And we would actually go to like Echo Park, all of us walking, and go hang out in Echo Park, because my grandpa sold ice cream at the school over here. It's Union Avenue, which is a school that I went to. So it's kind of funny that I feel like me and Victor, we were gonna end up meeting at some point in our life, because he actually lived like a couple blocks this way, and his brother went to Virgil Junior High, where my aunts went, and then he went to Belmont, where some of my aunts went also. So at the end of the day, he would have gone to Virgil, I would have gone to Virgil, and we would have met at that junior high if we didn't meet at the junior high in Baldwin Park, which is Holland. Okay, so this is actually the house that I grew up in, and right here on the side is the half, and I had an aunt that lived across the street, so we would all gather here and play and do whatever. And like I said, you know, Victor lived like a couple blocks away, so it's just crazy that even though he lived a couple blocks away, like we never ran into each other, because we never got the chance to go to the junior high together until we went to, I moved to Echo Park actually, and then from Echo Park I moved to Baldwin Park. So living here, it was gang related. We have Temple Street, which is like just like around the corner, and then there was a lot of like tagging crews. And my uncle, may he rest in peace, Jesse Castillo, he was from a tagging crew, and that's where like I get my love for graffiti. And he used to actually hit up at the Belmont Tunnel, and there's a book that I purchased, and it's based off of like the Belmont Tunnel and graffiti in LA, and he's actually like in that book a couple times. So I'm very grateful that, you know, he didn't know this, but he's in that book. Okay, so like a story about this street specifically, like as you've seen in the beginning, it's like a hill. So there was one time that my stepdad, he did like a high-speed chase, and I was in the car with him. I believe I was like 5 or 6, and we came flying down the street, and he stopped like right here, and he dropped me off, and I went with my aunt, and then he kept going, and the cops actually arrested him like down the street, because he didn't want, like, I'm assuming he didn't want me to see him get arrested and stuff. So yeah, and then another thing that happened here was that there was a drive-by. I had come from up there to get into a car that was like right here, and these guys pulled up, and back then my stepdad and my uncle, they would hang out like up there, and this gang came down and started shooting, and I was like right behind the car, like just like ducking, like what the hell, because I was little, so I didn't know like what the hell was going on. And so that also happened here. So looking back at it now, like it's just the way I see it, like that was normal to me because I grew up in that. Like I grew up in the middle of a drive-by with the ghetto bird with a bunch of cops. I grew up with the gunshots at night. I grew up with the drive-by here, you know. So now looking back, it's like it was really active, and I was unaware of that, you know. And there was also my stepdad. His mom lived somewhere in the vicinity of like Compton or Watts or whatever, because I remember we would go visit her, and then like literally like around the corner would be Slauson swap meet, and we would go to swap meet. And I was unaware of like how gang infested it is, you know, and like it was just normal to me. But now I know that that's not like where you would want to typically raise a child, you know. So my family was biracial. My grandmother, like I said, she lived like somewhere in the vicinity of where Slauson swap meet was, because my stepdad was he was a Crip. He was affiliated with a Crip gang. So we would go to the Slauson swap meet, and I had like that type of gang in my life, and like this type of, you know, gang life, and then also graffiti. Like it was like all types of different gangs affiliated in my background. So yeah, so from here I moved to Echo Park. I was literally like 2 blocks away from Echo Park. So for this part of it, I just want to, you know, give a shout out to all my cousins and everybody that we always used to hang out right here, and we used to just run these streets. You know, we used to go from here to Echo Park when my grandpa would go sell ice cream, you know, and then we would make sure we were back on time before he got home, and we were back on time so we could have lunch with my grandma, you know. So like, yeah, I had a lot of good times here, a lot of memories, and that's my story for right here in Los Angeles until we moved to Echo Park. So now I'm going to continue my story about when I lived in Echo Park.
Stay mad about 10 minutes, then it's like back on the bike to play hide and go get it with the younger hoes by the bungalows, then switch to playing ding dong ditch when that gets old and too cold to hack it. Threw on a bomber jacket, you could tell the ballers cause they fell wearing gazelles. If they really had money raised, we sport Nikes, and all the girls had they Turkish link. If it broke, then they made earrings to it, like they meant to do it. But sometimes I still sit and reminisce, then think about the years I was raised. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the
Good afternoon, everybody. We got Miss West Coast here in the house, and we are going to have a discussion today and get to know Janette.
Yeah.
How you doing, girl?
I'm good.
Welcome,
How are you?
We're in beautiful Echo Park today here. If you guys don't know, it's a beautiful place to come and chill with your family. It is part of your history as well, right?
Yeah. I grew up here after I moved from Mountain View. I moved over here 2 streets over, and we lived here for about 2 years.
You and your family?
Yeah, my mom and my stepdad and my brother. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And how was your childhood? How was your...
It was good for the most part. I mean, now I'm aware of how bad it was because I was, you know, in LA, in Echo Park, you know, I was in like Compton area. I was all throughout, you know. So now thinking back, it was pretty bad, you know,
yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is, you know, I made the best of it.
You don't really realize what you have to go through until you're past it, right? You
right.
kind of go on survival mode or whatnot.
Yeah, go with the flow. Yeah.
Like kind of now, right? Once you're married, it's kind of like survival mode too.
Yeah, exactly.
So you are Beaves' wife.
We're not married. I'm his fiance.
You're his fiance.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And for those that don't know, she's also his booking manager. She takes care of all his business in the background because, you know, to have a solid man, you need a solid woman right behind you. So this is a solid woman. So this is the one that does all the work and all the magic. Not to take anything away from Beaves because he is his own enterprise, but this is the woman that makes the magic. So all the time that you see him at a show, every time that you see him at an interview, this lady made it happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, make sure he doesn't double book because that's happened before, you know?
Oh,
so
I know, girl.
It happens, but yeah. So yeah, basically.
It's kind of like a little bit difficult like that, right? So you make sure you're on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you meet Beaves?
After here, I moved to Balm Park. And when I moved to Balm Park, I believe, I was there for about a year before he came because I met him in junior high there. And, he was in my class and, his cousins lived across the street from me where I live. Okay. So, I would see him at his cousins. I would see him at school.
Were the cousins trying to get at you first?
Oh, no, because we were little. I was like, what? I think 11, 12, 13, 14,
when you moved from
15.
Echo Park to Baldwin
yeah.
Park? Okay.
16, 17, I moved from there to the Inland Empire. So all those years, I was there. So, 5th grade to 11th grade. Yeah. So I met him in junior high, which was, I believe it was 7th grade. Yeah.
7th grade.
Yeah. So I had him in a class, and then he says that he used to talk to me and stuff. I don't remember. Like he says, yeah.
There's always two sides to a
yeah,
story.
exactly. Yeah.
Gentlemen.
Yeah. So, I don't remember. And I feel bad, like, when he told me, like, yeah, I used to talk to you. I was like, I don't really remember that, but okay. But yeah, he hung out where I hung out with my friends. Our friends were friends, you know?
So what was it that made him stand out then? Because obviously for a moment he wasn't standing out. You were standing out to him, but he wasn't to you. So
no, he wasn't. He never was. It was,
he
never was. Like, no, I don't mean.
You might have to edit that one.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but, I don't remember him. I remember him, but I don't, you know?
See.
So, and then his cousin was like a bully to me. He used to call me all these names and, you know, whatever. So I used to hate being like around them. You know? But, fast forward to, high school, I think. I knew him in high school too, because he went to high school for a short period of time, and then that's when he started getting busted and all that, you know? Okay. So then, so that was freshman year, and then junior year, I moved from Baldwin Park to then Empire, going into senior year. So that's where I left Baldwin Park. Yeah. And, he was already kind of gone because he was in and out of the gang and the jail and all that stuff, you know?
And were you familiar with that part of the life?
Oh, yeah.
To him?
Yeah. Because, well, my stepdad, like I had mentioned, he was a Crip, you know, so I had been around that. I had been around like Temple Street, like those gangs, like my stepdad knew other gang members, you know? So yeah, I was around like all that stuff.
And
you know?
I'm not trying to bring that up like to glamorize that kind of life, ladies and gentlemen. There is no glamour to that life. The only reason is that there's stripes that are earned living that life, you know? And I just want to make sure that people know there's a certain, you know, there's certain levels to that.
Yeah.
You know? And so there's no glamorizing about the life, but there is respect for it. You know? And so he was already getting caught up in it.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
But not you weren't at that extreme.
No, I wasn't. My stepdad, like I said, my stepdad was, you know? Yeah. So then when I left, Baldwin Park and I went to the Inland Empire, I just moved on with my life, you know, like I worked, whatever, did what I did out there, you know, bought a house out there and everything. And then fast forward 2-3 years ago, you know, I had always had him on Facebook and Instagram, and I had always liked his stuff.
Childhood friend.
Yes. Yeah. So, one day he did a live, and when he did the live, I messaged him because he had said, let me know what I should do lives on topics. So I messaged him and I was like, you should do something about women who make more money than men. Cause that's sometimes an issue in a relationship, you know?
Yeah.
And
the macho kind of
yeah. So that's when we started talking. And then he happened to have a show in San Bernardino, and I went. And that's when he had seen me for the first time in all those years.
Yes.
Since I think it was freshman year,
that's crazy.
high school. Yeah.
You know, talk about right person, wrong time, right?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so in the universe, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It doesn't matter how much time, you know, people are gonna link up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so what is it about him that, like, you know, that you love the most? What is it about him that, like, stands out the most for you?
I think it's our background. Like, it's our background because we knew each other back then. And like, he always says, he feels like his youth was robbed from him. So he says that I bring back to him part of his youth because he knew me back then, you know. And then we like a lot of the similar things, like Teenage Mutant. Like I collect toys, like 80s, 90s figurines, like toys, you know. So when he seen that I collect all that, he was like, "That's pretty cool. Like you collect, like, because those are the toys technically he would have played with back in that you know, time. Yeah. So we just get along good with that. And then like school, and like I was like kind of like a class clown back then, and so was he, and we just didn't know it because like we had one class together. Yeah. You know, so like at the end of the day, we're kind of like similar in a way. Like he says that I'm book smart and he's street smart.
So it's like the balance between the couples.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Janet, you mentioned that your stepdad was a Crip.
Right.
So that is more of an African-American gang as opposed to where you're more familiar with, which is a Mexican gang, right?
Right.
That was more of your upbringing, and that's where you can relate with Beeves, correct?
Right.
With that type of. So what would you say was like what impacted you most, or was there any type of difference that you would see from the two different gangs when you were growing up? Because your stepfather's influence and your own personal, what you would choose?
No, not really. There was no differences because I was young. So when you're young, you don't really pay attention to those things. You just, you don't really pay attention to those things. And I didn't. Like, he would go and take me to that side and do whatever we would do. And like, I was young. So like, parents are like, mind your own business. Don't talk, don't,
Especially
engage.
back in the day, it was a little bit different.
Yeah. Cause
You follow directions
I just
without
would sit in the car and he'd go do whatever, talk to homies, whatever, come back, we'd leave, whatever, or when we would go to Belmont High School, he had friends at Belmont High School, talk to them, whatever, leave, cause he watched me like all day.
Yes.
So to me, like, I didn't see nothing wrong with it.
Growing up, your stepdad was the one that was the biggest influence for you.
Yeah, I was around him a lot because my mom worked.
Exposed you to that life.
Yeah, because my mom worked. Yeah.
And then you yourself started getting an attraction to that life outside of that? Because how come if he's a Crip, you didn't go more towards the Crips as opposed to the Mexican gangs? Why did you know what I'm saying? If he was showing you that way, you still chose your likings, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I really don't have an answer for that, to be honest. Like, it's just the way of life, I guess, and then plus, like, I was young. So once I got older, past, 17, we moved. I was in the Inland Empire. So by the time it was time for me to be with somebody, because I wasn't with anybody until I was the age of 18. That's when I actually had a boyfriend. So like, I wasn't there anymore. I wasn't here in LA. I was over there. Yeah. And there wasn't really that many people over there,
And it seems like not just because of the different, let's say the different, skin colors, they were still pretty much doing the same activities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know that there was sometimes certain neighborhoods that there was no mixing of the races. It was either if you were a black gang, you're a black gang. If you're a Mexican gang, you're a Mexican gang. But there came a time where there was an actual, like a mesh, a blend, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure that's what he was doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He talked to everybody. Yeah, exactly.
So what would you say was like, was there a time or something that you ever witnessed when you were with him that you maybe shouldn't have witnessed?
Yeah, like the time that I said, when we were on Mountain View, I was in a high-speed chase and I was in the car with him. And they were after him. It was night. There was Ghetto Bird. There was a bunch of cops behind us. Behind us. No, he did time for all that, Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I was in a drive-by. I was ducking behind a car in front of my grandma's house.
And how old were you when this was going on?
I was, my brother was just born and we're 5 years apart. So I had to be anywhere from 5, 6, 7. I don't really remember exactly how old my brother was, but he was a baby. So yeah.
In the car too?
No, he wasn't in the car. Okay. My mom had just had him. And we went to Astro's to go get food. Yeah. And like I said, I was little. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, cops are chasing us. Ghetto Bird, the light on us is dark, flying down Mountain View. Yeah.
Could you imagine nowadays a kid, something like that happening?
Yeah.
They're so stuck on their phones, they wouldn't even know that they're getting chased.
Exactly. Yeah. Oblivious to what's going on around them.
We're like so aware of all our surroundings. Yeah. It didn't matter. You said 5 years old. That's 5, really 6, young to be able to remember something,
I remember that very clear. That and then the drive-by very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, how could you not? Because it's not something every day. Even though it's funny because we get kind of like neutralized, so that's kind of like a norm, right?
Right.
Because anybody else, they would get scared, scream, tell somebody about an experience like that. But you, like, it became a norm, so it's just like.
I think like it's like a traumatic incident in my life, so that's why I remember it so clear.
But you didn't.
But like back then, I didn't think it was traumatic. Yeah. I was with him, so I was just like, whatever. Okay. Like we're going where we're going. Going home. Just got hamburgers. Mom's at home with my brother that she just had. Yeah.
Just going through the motions of your day. Innocence.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
Innocence right there.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know. You're just trusting the adult. That's
right. That's the driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally the driver.
And nowadays you won't have that with kids, right? They'll be like, I'm calling my mom.
Yeah. Or they're on their phones. They're on their phones. Yeah. They're not paying around to their surroundings. Yeah.
And your stepdad, he's still alive now?
He is. Yeah.
And he's still about the life? Or he kind of retired, ya veterano?
That I know of, I think so. Yeah.
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 That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so how long have you been with B?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And what have been some of the biggest obstacles you had to face in this relationship, working and personal?
Is the drinking. Like he had said in his podcast, his part that he drinks a lot. And it's due to what he's gone through, and you know, it helps him like forget and like not worry about his surroundings so much. So yeah, exactly. So I would say that, like the drinking part.
The drinking. Yeah. And is it a deal breaker for you? I mean, obviously not to this point, right? But how is it that you guys are able to compromise and, you know, help him and him? You know?
Because it is a deal breaker for me, because I had told him when we first started talking that I didn't want to be with somebody who drinks every day, all day long or whatever. And he doesn't drink all day, every day. He drinks, Fridays, Saturdays, maybe Sundays. And we've, decided on, he starts drinking after 12.
So if you guys would maybe start having more sex more often to take over the sipping, you think that would work, or he would still go sip after the sex?
And the weekend we're out all the time. We're at his events. So like we can't have sex. Like we're at his events. We're at his event.
Find a spot real quick.
Yeah, no, he likes the ambiance too much. Like he likes to be out in public. He likes to be drinking. He likes to be having a good time. Whatever events we're at, yeah. So yeah, he is. He is. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I can see that the paradox there, right? Because you're more like reserved.
Yeah, I'm very reserved. Yeah, when we go to his events, like we're there for him. So like a lot of times people they're like, "Oh, get in the picture," and I'm like, "No," and I don't mean to sound rude or anything. It's just that's not my thing. This is his job. It's Young Beast Comedy. It's not me.
That's
you know.
Mad respect for you, because you're his partner, and there's a lot of people that get jealous. You know, especially when somebody's in the limelight. There's a lot of there's a lot of bitches out there. You know what I mean? And they have no respect and stuff. So
yeah.
You have to deal with that. But the fact that you're able to give him his space, you know, and understand that. That's
my thing I tell him is, as long as they don't disrespect me, I don't have a problem, because I'm not disrespecting them. Like I'll take the pictures. I'll like, hey, I'll take a picture for you, or do you want to do a selfie, whatever. Like I let him do whatever. But as long as they don't disrespect me, I don't have a problem. When it gets to they're disrespecting me,
like groupie energy.
Yeah, like you need to step in. And if you're not going to step in, then I'll have to step in.
Yeah.
And thank God it hasn't gotten there ever, because for the most part, most of the women are pretty respectful, you know? So like, you know.
Because that has to be pretty hard too to deal with that, right? Because there's, how I said, there's always the groupies and the women that are very disrespectful to somebody that's in the limelight.
Right.
And I've also seen a lot of times that there's the women, and not even as a manager, because you're his manager professionally, right? But they want to be in the picture. Like they got to claim this man, and you have your confidence where like you're giving him his space so that he can do his craft and you do your craft behind the scenes. You know, you don't have to have the light on you or say, "Hey, I'm the manager. This is my man." There's no need for that.
Right.
Because you guys respect each other. That's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why a lot of the times I don't get into the pictures when the people are like, "Oh no, get in." And I'm like, "No, because this is his thing. Like this is his shine. This is him. I'm not going to take that away from him. He's worked hard for that, you know?"
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm totally supportive of whatever he got going on, whatever he's doing. People that want to take pictures, like, I am.
Mad respect for that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're a confident woman.
Yeah.
You're doing your job properly. You get me?
Right. I know he's been in previous relationships where he says it doesn't work out because the girls are jealous. Mm-hmm. So like when, we started talking and he was like, "Do you want to, actually go out and be together?" Whatever. I told him, yeah, but I had already thought about like that, like the girls. I thought about like the drinking. I thought about his kids because he has 2 teenage daughters. I thought about the baby mamas because he has 2 baby mamas. So I thought about all that before I said, yeah, like we can be together.
These are real things that you got to deal with.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't take these things into consideration, but previous relationships, right? Baby mamas can be a whole separate issue depending on that female. Babies as well, because sometimes
if they don't like you,
you know what I mean? Or things like that. So the time, there's some people that they get jealous, whether it be the man or the woman, if there's kids in a relationship previous, they get jealous with the time. So it's beautiful that you guys do have a beautiful connection. You know?
And I had told him from the beginning, if like, when I meet your kids, if they don't like me, we can't be together because I'm not going to be with somebody that the kids don't like me or that they don't respect me.
See.
So like if they can respect me and be cordial and cool when we're all together, I don't have a problem. But if it's going to be like a fight or whatever, I tell them like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put them through that. I'm not going to put me through that. And I'm not going to put you through that.
So what advice would you give, let's say, other females that are in your position that are, let's say, as a partner, as a partner to their man, and they're up on stage all the time? What kind of advice would you give a female, you know, that maybe the girls get on their nerves, or, you know, they don't like all the attention to their man? How do you keep so cool? What advice could you give, you know? Because it is hard to deal with somebody that has a lot of attention like that, females and stuff. That's not easy. For you, it might be, but not for a lot, you know?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's basically he should never put any woman above me. That's how I see it. The moment you start putting another woman above me and start giving another woman power over me, go be with her. You don't need to be with me anymore.
Absolutely.
Because I look at it the same way. I'm the same way. I don't give no man power over him, because he's who I go home with. He's who I'm with all the time, you know.
Respect.
Yeah, it's just a respect thing. Yeah. And I think that's why, we get along so good, because there's an understanding. And I feel like, you know, no disrespect to anybody he's been with since he got out of jail, because he's been with like multiple people, you know, and clearly it didn't work out. But I just feel like nobody really had patience to deal with the type of person he is, the trauma he's gone through, the disappointments he's gone through in life, like his PTSD at night, or when he can't sleep. Like there's so many things that are wrong with him, but they make him who he is. And like I sit there and I talk to him about it. And I'm like, look, you're doing this, but it's not good, because look at this. You know, so I work with him on a lot of stuff.
You're
like,
the yin to his yang?
Yeah. I feel like I'm his therapist sometimes, because we talk about a lot of like different things and incidents and stuff. And I'm like, well, see, I wouldn't have handled it like that. I would have handled it like this, you know?
Sometimes you guys turn to each other when facing, you know, difficult times. The alcoholism.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where maybe a female would go and be like, I can't deal with this. Or, you know, talk shit about their man. That to me, you're backstabbing your man if you're talking bad about him, even to your own family. You should never talk bad about your man at all. And the fact that you deal with his alcoholism. You deal with the stardom, because that's not easy. Right?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, he's a reflection of me and I'm a reflection of him. So if we're somewhere and I'm acting all crazy, they're going to be like, Young B's lady, she's wild. Don't invite her, you know? So like a lot of times, like when we go, he does his thing and I'm like next to him and I, you know, shake hands with people, say hi to people, you know, whatever. But for the most part, I let him do his thing, you know, as long as I'm not disrespected.
So what about with the alcoholism? Dealing with that, what advice would you give a spouse? It doesn't have to be another female. It could be a male, because there's also females that have alcohol problems, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you give a partner dealing with somebody that has, like, you know, what is that called? Not an addiction.
Right. Yeah. Be patient. Like, I feel like I'm very patient with him.
And where do you draw that patience from? Because some girls, sometimes you don't sleep right. Sometimes you're not feeling good. You know what I mean? And they could be a top-notch level asshole, you know?
Yeah.
So how do you keep your cool?
To be honest, I work with him. Like, he likes to drink. So I'm like, okay, drink, pace yourself.
Do you
drink? That way, I don't drink.
You don't drink.
Yeah. And I'm the driver. I'm not going to get a DUI for what? For a freaking pop-up? Like,
that's
I'm not.
Like 10 racks.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. This guy has like 4 DUIs himself. So I'm not going to do that. When we get home, I wake him up. We get out of the car. We go inside. He'll go to sleep.
You learn.
He go to sleep. Yeah. I studied him to where, like, I make it work.
Take notes.
And, he's changed. Like, if I wouldn't have seen change, I probably wouldn't be here now.
Yeah.
You know, but he's changed. So with the little bit of change that he's doing, I know he's not going to change overnight. I'll take it in. I'll accept it.
If that's not love, I don't know what the fuck it is.
I know, right?
No,
yeah,
real.
Because a lot of people will be like, well, why don't you fucking leave him? And like, fuck that. I'm not going to put up with that shit. But it's like, how many women have done that?
No, and don't listen to anybody on the outside, because you don't really know what they got going on. ¿Me entiendes?
Yeah.
I don't think in relationships, a third party should be involved at all.
Right.
You know? Then that's why, you know, going back to the thing, like if you have a problem with your relationship, you should have somebody you could trust, but never talk shit, talk bad about your partner, especially not with your family.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're going to bring him back around and you're going to create this animosity with your partner.
Right.
And you don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want nobody looking bad at your man. And not that they're on a pedestal, but you want the respect, you know you guys are going to get over it because you love each other.
Right. We're going to fix it.
So why put that stigma in other people's minds, right?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. I've only shared the story about like him and his drinking and how bad it gets to like a couple people. And by a couple people, I mean 4 people.
No, and the thing with that though, girl, like you're teaching people. You guys are an inspiration because look at what you guys have come and been able to survive and come across, you know, different, even though it's kind of similarities with the gang type of, you know, influence, he was more hardcore in the deep with it, right? And you more out of like, association in a sense.
Yeah. Right? So I mean, I know about it. I know the bullshit. I know the get down and everything because I was out here and then, you know, I know what goes around, you know? Yes. Yeah, I had family that's in gangs, you know, so yeah. But I mean, yeah, I just feel like, if we can make it work and we can get past through it and he can be a better person and he's just a better person every day and he evolves, like, I can't argue with that. I'm not going to leave him over that. No. You know, I'm going to work with him. And I feel like every relationship, people, you know, that's what they work for. They work for to be together and to get through things and be better people every day. Yeah.
It's only your guys' thing. Nobody else should be getting involved.
Exactly. So I think that's why we've lasted so long because, like, I'm very patient with him. We talk a lot. The communication's open. We discuss everything, you know, and like, we go back and forth on it. Yeah. And I feel like nobody ever that he was with before did that. They just fight back and then they break up and that's it. And he finds somebody else and somebody else and somebody, you know. So yeah, like we actually put in the work. And I think we put in the work also because we share history. Like we went to junior high school together and
you have a connection.
I mean, we have,
You have a solid connection with this man.
Yeah. You know? And overall, it's good. Overall, the good outweighs the bad because we're growing. And even people that have been together for 40 years, married, they're still growing.
Yeah. And it's very admirable, you know, especially in these times where people have like that instant gratification. You know, you got everything to your doorstep now. You don't have to wait for nothing. You don't have to go and drive through. Now you can order eats. You can get everything to your door, right? You know, so it's like whatever you want, pretty much at the push of a button.
Yeah. I always used to tell him in the beginning, a closed mouth don't get fed.
Yeah. But it's really difficult because I think in relationships, that's why it's so hard nowadays because people, if they don't like something, they're like, over here, I'm gonna go over here.
To the next one.
As opposed to actually working on what it is that was, you know, that's there.
Yeah, and the grass ain't always greener on the other side, you know? It's not.
Usually turf, astroturf, you know? Yeah. They find out it's fake when it's too late.
Yeah.
So what other projects you guys have going on?
We want to start like a YouTube channel. Okay. We want to start a YouTube channel. It's just going to be about everything, like just his stuff, like his background, his stuff, you know, because a lot of people I see on the podcast, they're like, hey, you should start a channel. You should do this. You should do that on the channel. So we want to start a channel where he talks and I talk, but then also like I said, I collect, 80s and 90s toys and stuff like that. So where I could show my toys and like stuff like that. Like I buy purses, I collect purses, like handbags and stuff. Like, so yeah, it's just going to be a channel about everything, like probably like a vlog. I think we're gonna do like a vlog, like where we go places and what we do and where we eat and what we like and like just stuff like that. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah,
because he's also involved in a lot of community events, right? You guys do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
you know, talk to the kids, you know.
Yeah,
so that's really neat as well. You guys take the time to go out and inspire people, you know.
Right.
Like, yes, we did this. Yes, we come from a gang life. Yes, you know, I was influenced by Crips. I was influenced by gangs. I was influenced by this. I'm dealing with alcoholism and blah, blah, blah. Right. But at the end of the day, we still have something to give to the world. Have something to teach and inspire. I think that's a beautiful thing. Was it his idea to write the book?
He always said he wanted to write a book. And then I think with dealing with him, being with him for the 3 years, the stuff that I've seen and that he talks to me about and he tells me his stories in YA and stuff. And then just like his PTSD at night, like, he takes a lot of medication to sleep, like to be able to sleep at night. And I've woken him up from cold sweats. I've woken him up from him saying like he was getting stabbed in his dream, him punching, him kicking, because in his dream it is so real. He's doing it outside of the dream, you know? So yeah, I just told him maybe you should write a book, you know, and I told him like, just start writing. We'll find an editor. We'll have him edit it, whatever. And yeah, and he started writing. I think it took him like about a whole year to actually finish the book. So every time he would write, he'd like read it to me. And we'd like go back and forth on the chapters and, you know, but yeah, it's his life basically at the end, you know, so I was just listening to what he was telling me and and I think it's like therapy for him too, cause he's letting it out and, you know, so yeah, he wanted to do it and I just pushed him. I have a laptop. So I was like, anytime he was sitting around doing nothing, I'd be like, get on the laptop and write.
Start writing.
Get on the laptop and write. Get on the laptop and write.
Are you going to write a book?
No.
I think you should.
No.
It's like a manual, support system manual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Really good.
No, I don't think so. I told him I was going to write a book about my life and like the stuff that we've gone through, but it's a lot. I work. I have a full-time job and I'm an accountant.
Okay.
So I work Monday through Friday and then, we do his events and his shows, in the weekend.
Damn, girl, how many hats you wear, right?
Yeah.
So
And
you're an accountant.
Yeah.
You're a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Your stepmom.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
What else? Oh, I all the finances. I make sure all the bills at the house get paid. The house note gets paid. The car gets paid. Yeah, everything. I do everything. I do a lot. His prescriptions for his medicine, like everything, right, babe? Like, I do. I do a lot. I do a lot. Yeah.
And sometimes we just go through the motions and we don't really, you know.
It's normal.
Yes.
It's the norms. You know, my job, being an accountant, is very organized and it's numbers, so it's very like, you know, like repetitive.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just routine.
It just makes
like,
it easier for you to keep everything in check.
Yeah.
And it's smart of him to just let you handle it because you're the expert.
Yeah, we always get to our places on time, our events on time, and make sure we're there on time. I calculate the traffic because we live in the Inland Empire. So a lot of events are like in LA or like even the San Gabriel Valley. So yeah, I'm like, okay, we got to be ready by this time so we can have enough time to get there, you know. So yeah, like I do, it's a lot.
Has he ever pissed you off to the point where you're like, you're just going to have to walk?
I left them. I left them one time.
Did?
I left them one time, but I only left them because I knew he was gonna have a ride to his. We were in West Covina where his mom lives. So I left him, and I was like, "Go with your mom. Like I'm good." And I left. I left. And what did I do? I actually left and I just hung out in a parking lot. And when he called me and he was like, I'm at my mom's, I went and I got him. I went and I got him and we went home. And because he was drinking, the next day we talked about it. And I told him, this is why I left you, because if I don't do it, you're going to think I'm never going to do it.
I like how you wait. There's a lot of times, especially for females, it's really hard when you're in the heat of the moment to let shit go, walk away, and come back to it later.
Yeah.
I think that as for females, I'm a female, so I'm going to call us out on it. We tend to do that. We tend to make sure like, ahí en ese momento lo queremos arreglar. You know, so I think that's a beautiful thing that you actually have the patience to be like, I'll come back. Let's put a pin in this bitch.
Yeah, no, that time I left him there with his mom and his sister, and I told him I'm leaving. Like, I'm good on all this. I'm leaving. And I left, and I waited at like a Target parking lot, and because we live in the Inland Empire, so that's an hour drive about from Covina, where his mom lives. So I was like, I'm not gonna go home and then have to come back and get this fool. Because I'm gonna have to come back and get him.
I'm gonna do it regardless.
So I went and I was like in a Target parking lot, and I just waited, and then he called me and he was like, okay, I'm at my mom's house. So I went and I picked him up, and he was drunk, and he got in the car and he bitched for about like 10 minutes, fell asleep, and then when we got home, got out, went to sleep. In the morning, I was like, okay, so what's up with yesterday? What the fuck was all that about? You know? And we talked about it.
You talk about it.
And like I said, that was the first and last time I left him.
And you move forward.
Yeah. I never left him again. But like I said, I left him with, I knew he was alright where I left him. Yeah. So.
How would you describe yourself?
What do you mean? How do I?
Yeah. How would you describe yourself? Like, how would you describe yourself? Let's say, you're gonna write your book, right? How would you describe it? What kind of book would it be? Is it gonna be science fiction? Is it gonna be inspirational? Is it gonna be what would be your book? Because then that would be you, right?
Yeah. I feel like I'm very like helpful, like in that sense. Like I'm very fearless. Like I don't really like care about a lot of things. There's very few things in my life that I care about, you know.
What do you care about?
Like, I mean, I care about like, you know, my family, you know, beeves, you know, but like as far as like when things happen, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna stress over it. I'm not gonna dwell on it. Like, what can I do now? Because it happened already. Like, I move forward. I don't move back.
That's
you know,
right.
I move forward. Like, there's nothing I could do about. It's out of my control. Stuff that's out of my control, it's out of my control. Like, I can't fix that. You know. So yeah, like, it would just be about that. Like, yeah, I would say like a little bit of self-help. Like I say, like I problem solver. You know. Yeah, like just how to move forward, not back.
And solutions. Yeah, focus on the solutions.
Fix it. Be a better you every day.
Be a better you every day.
Yeah. Right?
Like the shades I stay in are the coloring ones.
All right. Not even those sometimes. No.
Behind every great person, you know, it takes a village. Sometimes it could be one person, sometimes it could be 10.
Yeah.
In this case, it's one person.
Yeah.
It's Janette.
Yep.
Right here. The woman, the myth, the legend that you guys don't know about. But this is what helps create Beeves to be the best man that he could be.
Yep.
Got my girl right here. Any last words, love?
No, just, I mean, be patient with your significant other. Like, if you're dealing and they're changing, you know, stick by them. Because the way I think about it is how many people didn't stick by him. You know, and he's a better person today than he was yesterday, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Even when I wasn't with him, he's a better person than that person.
Life has a way of sorting things out, right? Like sometimes we want to hold on to something that's not meant for us. Mm-hmm. And the moment we let it go, what is it? Let go and let God, you know, the right things fall into place.
Yeah.
So I feel like you guys fell into place like a perfect puzzle. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. Like to have a support system like you, to have a support system like him back and forth. That's why you guys make magic.
Yeah, we make it work. We make it work. Yeah.
Here we go, ladies. The village behind Beeves is right here. Her name's Janette.
All I had to do now was finish homework. It's true, you don't realize really what you got till it's gone. And I'm not gonna sing another sad song, but sometimes I do sit and reminisce, then think about the years I was raised. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. And everybody back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid.